Hello Mojo, hey, it's Willis here from the Photo Mojo Show. I just thought I'd put up a quick video to show you about depth of field and the differences in aperture f-stops. So what I did this afternoon was I went outside and took my little Tigger with me, and I set it up on a tripod, and I set it up in Aperture Priority mode. So Aperture Priority mode on your SLR or digital SLR is a mode that allows you to adjust the f-stops. So the f-stops goes anywhere from 1.8, or it can go actually higher at say 0.95 if it's like the fastest lens, and it can go all the way down to something like f22 or even lower depending on the lens. The difference is that the higher the number, it's a little bit confusing with the f-stops, but if you think of it, the higher the number, the smaller the shutter will be, and that also means the less amount of light that will come through. Whereas the lower the number, it means how wide the shutter will open up to. So something shot at say f22 will let the least amount of light in, whereas something shot at say 1.8 would let a lot of light in. And what that means is that your shutter doesn't have to be, the shutter speed doesn't have to be open for quite as long if you have a higher f-stop as opposed to a low one. But the difference, it's a bit of a, I guess, depending on what style or what type of photograph that you're trying to take, there's no right or wrong f-stop to use. So an example could be that if the difference is that if you have a low f-stop number, then the depth of field, everything in that picture becomes more in focus. Whereas if you have a high f-stop, then the depth of field is a lot narrower, which means that there'll be a small part of the photo which is in focus, and the rest of it will be sort of blurred, and that's great for like sort of artistic shots. And also good if you're doing some portraits and stuff and you just want to get the subject in focus, but everything else sort of nice and blurred out. Now, to put your camera into Aperture Priority mode, depending on whether you use a Nikon or a Canon, you can actually just set it. So here, this is for a Nikon camera, you just put it in A, and what that means is, in Aperture Priority mode, is that you control the f-stop, so you control what f-stop you want the camera to shoot at, and the camera will automatically adjust, work out the appropriate shutter speed for you. So the difference is that if you're shooting in a higher f-stop, say at like 1.8, it means that the shutter speed will be a lot faster because the camera shutter doesn't have to be open as quick for as long. And if you're shooting at a lower f-stop, it means that the shutter has to be open for longer because it has to let more light in. Now if you have a Canon, then you'll put it in AV mode, and they're pretty much they do exactly the same thing. So I'll show you the photos that I took today, and you can sort of have a look at the difference between the f-stops. And you can see this photo here was actually taken at f1.8, so I used my 85mm 1.8 camera lens on the D7000. And so you can see here, around here, it's got a very shallow depth of field. So this area here is in focus, whereas you can actually see even around the edges around here is that it's actually out of focus and it's blurred, and that's because it's shallow depth of field. You can sort of see it's pretty detailed, and you can definitely see around here that it is sort of blurred out, and you get a little bit of bokeh as well. So if we go to the next f-stop, which is at f2, you can see here that it's a little bit, the depth of field is a little bit wider. So if we go back, and if we move along, you can sort of start to see, notice how like around here at f1.8 the lights are sort of more, they're bigger, but they're not, this is the reflections, the lights is bigger but it's not in focus. But as you start to go down the range, then it's starting to get a little bit smaller, and you can see that the depth of field, so you can see here now that this part here is starting to get in focus as we move along, and it's a little bit I guess not so, the images aren't perfectly shot in the same, but it's only because of my hands when I was pressing the shutter. So what I ended up doing was actually shot it in mirror up mode. So what that means is that you press the button and it flips the mirror up, and then when you press it the second time is when the actual shutter takes off. And this can help with vibration and that sort of thing, because even that small vibration in the mirror can affect the focus as well, like in the sharpness. Now, I'm not sure if you can really see, but as we go up or go down the f-stops, the shutter speed actually starts to get a little bit slower. So if we go all the way back to f1.8, it was shot at 1/800th of a second. But when we start to go down here, it's starting to go down now. At f4.5, it's at 1/200th, and now it's down to 1/160th of a second. So, but you can sort of see that it's starting to get more sort of in focus, and the background here is starting to get a little bit more clearer. You can definitely see it's starting to get clearer around here as well. And up here we're at about f9 now. You can sort of see now that most of Tigger is pretty much in focus. So I did shoot this in, so what I did was I autofocused on this area, and then I put the lens in manual focus, so that way it wouldn't have to try and work out, it wouldn't try to automatically focus at different like parts of the picture, and also that we have a bit more consistency. And you can sort of see here that now this area is starting to get more in focus, and it's also taking longer to take the shot. So here at f14, you can see here this part's all starting to get in focus, but it's shot at 1/20th of a second, whereas at f1.8 it was at 1/800th, because it lets so much light in. But at at f14, then it's not as the shutter isn't open as wide, so then it takes longer for it to let almost the same amount of light in. And this is at f16. Unfortunately, I didn't realize till after I shot it that the 85mm only goes to f16 and not f22. So at f22 you probably see most of this background in focus as well. Now you think it's probably not too much of a difference, but if you go all the way back to f1.8, so you can see here this is all, it's really blurred out, and if you're taking a shot at 1.8, then you sort of want this part in focus. But I guess it's depending on the shot that you're trying to get. So if you're taking a photo of someone that you want them in to be the center of the focal part of the photo when people see it, then this is fantastic. Whereas if you were taking more landscapes and you wanted everything to be in detail, then you'd sort of go down the f-stops a bit more. So hopefully this gives you a bit of a better understanding of the difference between the f-stops. And there's no right or wrong way, and it all depends on the situation as to when you're shooting the photograph and what f-stop you sort of use. I found that you're shooting aperture priority mode is probably the mode that I shoot mostly in, unless I'm doing long exposures or whatnot, which is then I'll move down to manual mode, so then I can control both the shutter speed as well as the aperture. But I think if you're just starting out using a DSLR and you want to get out of shooting in auto mode, where the camera automatically adjusts everything for you, then moving it to aperture is a nice the next step, which is what I did when I first started to learn more about the cameras. So yeah, let us know what you think. If you have any feedback, send us an email. So you can send that to photomojoshow@gmail.com, or you can send it to either Mitch or myself, which is willis@photomojoshow.com, or mitch@photomojoshow.com as well. And don't forget to visit the website, photomojoshow.com. We have some updates, try and get some updates regularly, and also the podcast as well. Thanks for listening, guys.